Learn to live with calm. Nothing will ever bother you again. A woman's journey to inner strength, the inner fortress, the unshakable foundation of peace. So many of us believe that peace is a destination, a perfect beach vacation, a positive bank account, the silence after the children are asleep. We search for this peace like an oasis in the desert, believing it exists out there, somewhere we haven't yet reached. But this is the greatest illusion we are sold. You can have it all, the perfect scenery, the money, the silence, and still live with a civil war raging within your soul. The body rests on the warm sand, but the mind runs a marathon of worries, fears, and self-criticism. Every thought feels heavy. Every emotion grows unchecked, like a weed choking your inner garden. It's in these moments that a sharp, cutting truth emerges. Peace is not a setting, it is an internal structure. It doesn't depend on the world outside. It depends on the castle you build within yourself. When your mind lacks discipline, the smallest comment from a coworker, an unanswered text, or a sideways glance on the street can shatter you. But when you reclaim control, when you become the queen of your own inner realm, nothing, absolutely nothing, can bring you down. And that is what we are going to build together today. Habit by habit, thought by thought. But before we dive into this transformation, I ask for one small thing that makes a great difference. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This way, you won't miss a single step on this journey to serenity, and you'll help us carry this message to other women who, like you, are seeking to become the unshakable guardian of their own peace. It all begins now with a non-negotiable choice. Your peace is not a bargaining chip. You will no longer beg for tranquility. You will no longer outsource your happiness. You will no longer hand over the keys to your well-being to anyone else. You will train your mind relentlessly until it becomes your most loyal ally and your most powerful weapon. Write this in the comments as a decree to yourself. Today, nothing touches me. I am the guardian of my peace. Because when this awareness awakens, problems shrink, and you, my dear friend, you grow. 1. The power of strategic silence. Say only what is essential. We live in a culture that applauds noise. We are taught from a young age that to be heard, we must speak loudly, speak often, justify our every move. But often, it is not an enemy who exposes you, it is your own mouth. We believe that speaking a lot is a sign of intelligence or confidence, when in reality, it is almost always a symptom of nervousness and insecurity. Think of that work meeting. The more a person justifies themselves, the more uncertain they appear. Think of a disagreement in a relationship. The more you try to explain yourself to someone who doesn't want to listen, the more you surrender your power and your energy. An excess of words does not prove confidence, it serves your insecurity on a platter. Observe the women you admire, those who possess a serene strength, an inner gravitas. They do not rush to answer. They don't feel the need to fill every silence. They do not waste their precious energy on petty disputes or gossip. Instead, they weigh each word as if it were gold. And why? Because they know that she who speaks too much becomes predictable, and she who is predictable loses the power to surprise and to lead. Ancient wisdom teaches the art of saying little to impact much. Silence, for the wise woman, is not an emptiness, it is a strategy. It is a space where she observes, analyzes, and chooses her next move. It is discipline. It is power. An excess of words betrays hidden emotions. The anxiety that cannot wait, the fear of being misunderstood, the anger that spills over when silence would have been the most dignified response. It's like a glass filled to the brim. The more you agitate it with unnecessary words, the more it spills, wasting the precious contents within. The woman who seeks calm understands this truth. She doesn't need long speeches to impress. She prefers sharp clarity, the brief sentence that closes a topic, the intelligent question that shifts the perspective. She knows that words, when mastered, inspire more respect than any justification. 2. Emotional sovereignty. You are the queen, not the prisoner of your feelings. How many times have you made a decision in the heat of anger, frustration, or sadness, and minutes later, once the dust settled, you realized you had handed your power over to impulse? This is how many of us become prisoners, not of life, but of our own internal chaos. Emotion rises like a fire and blinds like smoke. And when the heart takes the wheel, intelligence becomes a passenger in the back seat. The world is full of examples of brilliant women who sabotage their careers, relationships, and peace with one thoughtless reaction. The professional who explodes at her team, the mother who loses control and says words that wound deeply, the friend who, feeling hurt, sends a text that destroys years of trust. It can take years of intelligence to build respect and love, but a single uncontrolled emotion can destroy it all in an instant. The Stoics warned us, no man is free who is not master of himself. The psychologist Carl Jung taught that our uncontrolled reactions often stem from our unacknowledged shadow, the parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable. When you feel that surge of rage or panic, it is an invitation not to act out, but to look within. It's like a knock at your door. You hear it, but you decide whether to open it. If it's a thief, you don't let him in. Anger, jealousy, anxiety, they are just like that. They arrive. They knock on the door of your mind, but they only enter if you turn the key. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor facing wars and betrayals, repeated to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find your strength." This is the key. When emotion overflows, your intelligence must be the wall that contains it. Think not of a soldier, but of a wise queen. Facing a crisis in her kingdom, she doesn't panic. She breathes, observes, and consults her counsel, her reason, her intuition, before acting with clarity and strength. You become imperturbable when you make emotional discipline your crown, by breathing deep when impulse commands you to attack, by staying silent when anger wants to scream, and by remembering that one moment of self-control is worth more than 1,000 apologies later. Your greatest strength is not in eliminating what you feel, but in mastering how you respond to what you feel. Breaking the invisible chains, reclaiming your autonomy. We are raised in a world that subtly or overtly teaches us to seek external validation. The heaviest chains are not made of iron, but of expectations, the endless search for approval, and the paralyzing fear of criticism. Breaking free from them is not an act of rebellion, but the deepest act of self-love and the second pillar in building a life of unshakable calm. It's about taking the power over your happiness and self-worth back from the hands of others and bringing it home to yourself. 3. The antidote to disappointment. Stop handing others the script to your happiness. How many times have you felt deeply disappointed because someone didn't act as you expected? You offered unconditional support and received indifference. You were loyal and were met with suspicion. You reached out your hand and were left hanging. The sharp pain of disappointment almost never comes from what the other person did, but from the chasm between what they did and what you expected them to do. This is the invisible poison of expectations. We create an idealized version of others in our minds, the perfect partner, the ever-present friend, the fair boss, and when reality in all its human complexity shows up, we feel betrayed. But in truth, no one betrayed us. We were the ones who clung to a promise that was never made, a script that existed only in our own minds. Marcus Aurelius said it best, "Expect men to act according to their nature, not according to your will." And this changes everything. When you understand that each person can only act from their current level of consciousness, from their own traumas, fears, and limitations, you realize that demanding perfection is like asking an unwatered plant to blossom. It is unfair, it is illusory, and you are the one who becomes exhausted in the process. The truth is, no one operates on pure logic. Every behavior is guided by deep-seated experiences, invisible scars, and emotional roots that shape how one responds to life. Often what you perceive as a personal slight is simply someone else's pain speaking loudly. It's what psychologists call projection. They are not reacting to you, they are reacting to their own story. Herein lies the turning point. When you understand that others react from their own history, you stop expecting sweet fruit from unprepared soil. This doesn't mean you accept poor treatment. It means you free yourself from the illusion that people will act as you would. This liberation does not diminish them. It empowers you. From this day forward, stop expecting exact reciprocity. Continue to act with integrity, not because others deserve it, but because it represents who you are. Maturity is maintaining your essence without becoming sick from expecting from others what they cannot yet give. Continue to be whole, even if the world around you is still in pieces. 4. The silent revolution. Stop seeking approval, start building your value. One of the greatest thieves of inner peace is the constant need to prove your worth. We want to be accepted, recognized, valued, and in our rush to be seen, we spend more energy talking than doing. We try to impress with promises, with justifications, with long speeches, but deep down all this does is reveal the insecurity of one who still needs external confirmation. Carl Jung called the mask we wear for the world the persona. When we live to please others, we are living only through our persona, starving our true self. This need for validation appears everywhere. In the workplace, there's always someone who talks endlessly about what they plan to do, but whose results are scarce. On social media, where many announce victories before they are won, searching for quick applause that fades as fast as it arrives, the more someone needs to announce, the more they show they don't yet trust their own construction. Seneca warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." The same is true for recognition. Think of the great women of history. Marie Curie didn't waste time trying to convince the world she was on the right track while she toiled in her lab. While critics talked, she kept testing. When she finally made her revolutionary discoveries, she needed no speeches. The results spoke for themselves and silenced every opposing voice. This is the lesson. Words may win you temporary applause, but results build enduring respect. She who focuses on words is consumed by the need to prove. She who focuses on action finds freedom because the result becomes its own voice. Do you want to become imperturbable? Do not use your energy seeking acceptance in words. Use it to build something that speaks for itself. Because at the end of the day, no one remembers what you promised, only what you delivered. The noise of a speech lasts an instant, but the power of your example echoes for a lifetime. 5. The court of public opinion. 10 people, 10 different worlds. If you live for the approval of others, you will spend your life in debt. Every person you meet has an opinion, and if you try to please everyone, you will lose yourself. The same action that earns you applause today may bring criticism tomorrow. The same behavior one person praises, another condemns. This is because every perspective is filtered through the viewer's personal history. 10 people, 10 worlds. 10 people, 10 different opinions. If you base your life in this court, you will forever be a prisoner trying to guess the next verdict. Seneca was blunt. If you live to please others, you die every time you are criticized. Think of the woman who posts a photo and deletes it minutes later for not getting enough likes, or the one at work who gives up on an idea for fear of what others will say. Or the one who, even within her own family, never shows who she truly is because she fears judgment. The constant search for approval turns even the strongest into invisible hostages. History shows this on a grand scale. Joan of Arc was condemned by the opinion of the majority before being canonized as a saint. Had she shaped her faith to please others, she would have survived, but at the cost of her truth. She chose to die true to her beliefs, rather than live imprisoned by the judgment of others. Here is the crucial point. If even the greatest were criticized, why do you believe you would be spared? You will never have control over what others think of you, but you will always have control over who you decide to be in spite of it. And that is the greatest human power. To maintain your integrity, even when the whole world is pointing a finger. Do you want to become imperturbable? Then accept this. Praise and criticism are merely echoes. Do not build your identity on the shifting sands of public opinion. Build a solid life, founded on your own values, on your own conscience. Because in the end, what truly matters is not what others said, but who you became. The world may disagree, but your conscience cannot lie. The gardening of the soul. Cultivating the essential and pruning the excess. Once we have fortified our inner world and broken free from the chains of public opinion, the next step on the journey to calm is the active, conscious work of cultivation. Imagine your life, your mind, and your energy as a garden. It is not enough to build a strong fence, the inner fortress, and ignore the neighbors, liberation from expectations. You must actively tend to what grows inside that garden. This means pulling out the weeds of distraction, pruning the unhealthy branches of perfectionism, and learning to say no to everything that steals the sunlight from your most precious flowers. This is the gardening of the soul, an act of love and discipline that determines the beauty and peace of your inner space. 6. The silent thieves. Distractions are always lurking. Have you ever noticed that the more attention you give a distraction, the more it grows? It's like feeding a stray animal. If you give it food, it won't leave. It will come back every day demanding more. Distractions work in the same way. Every time you give in to them, you are training your mind to be dominated by the unimportant. The problem is, we almost never notice the cost. 5 minutes scrolling through Instagram becomes half an hour lost. A negative online comment occupies your mind for an entire day. A comparison with someone else's seemingly perfect life on social media steals weeks of your self-esteem. And when you add it all up, you discover it wasn't the world that stole your time, energy, and joy. It was you who gave it away, one distraction at a time. Marcus Aurelius warned us, "You always have power over your mind, not outside events." If you do not learn to protect this power, you will live at the mercy of notifications, opinions, and stimuli that only seem urgent. And the more you give in, the more these distractions follow you like shadows. Think of how many times you stopped making progress on something important, a project, a course, a moment of self-care, because you got busy with the irrelevant. It's like being in the middle of a marathon and stopping to talk to every person who calls your name from the sidewalk. By the time you look up, the finish line is far behind. And the most painful part is realizing that life does not wait. The time you give to distractions never comes back. At work, how many projects were left unfinished because you responded to every notification? In your studies, how many pages were abandoned because an open tab hijacked your focus? Each distraction seems small, but together they form a massive detour, a crack in your life force. Wise women train their focus as an essential skill. They know a scattered mind is a vulnerable mind, but a trained mind is invincible. Every distraction you refuse is another brick in the fortress of your discipline. And this discipline, when well built, is like an invisible wealth. No one can steal it, no one can spend it for you. If you want to become imperturbable, consciously choose what deserves your energy. Don't follow every noise. Don't feed every distraction. Remember, whatever you cultivate grows. If you cultivate the essential, you reap progress. If you cultivate distraction, you reap emptiness. 7. The sacred no, the most powerful tool for protecting your energy. Learning to say no is like locking the door to your house at night. It is not rudeness, it is protection. You don't lock your door because you hate your neighbors, but because you know that not everyone can come inside. Your mind, your time, and your energy also need this invisible boundary. The problem is that we, especially as women, have been socialized to please. The fear of seeming selfish, difficult, or unkind causes us to leave the door wide open. We accept pointless conversations, meetings that could have been an email, tasks that aren't ours, favors that drain us. Every forced yes is like allowing strangers to walk in and clutter your living room. And by the time you realize it, you're living in a house that no longer feels like your own, exhausted and resentful. Epictetus said, "If you want to be respected, first respect yourself." And that respect begins right here, at the clear boundary between what comes in and what stays out. Think of something simple, your inbox. Every time you reply to everything, immediately you teach others that your attention has no filter and is always available. But when you learn to say no, even silently by choosing when and how to respond, you create space for what truly matters. Make no mistake, every yes you give to something you don't want comes at a high price. It costs you hours of sleep, your inner peace, your physical health. And in the end, you are the one who pays the bill alone. The fear of disappointing others transforms into the certainty of disappointing yourself. Do you want to become imperturbable? Learn to value no as much as yes. Because every no to that which drains and diverts you is in fact a giant and powerful yes to your clarity, your freedom, and the life you truly want to build. 8. The gilded cage. Do not lose yourself in the pursuit of perfection. The obsession with perfection is one of the cruelest traps for the female soul. You think you are striving for excellence, but in reality, you are hiding behind a disguised fear. The perfectionist does not live. She postpones. She does not begin. She waits for the right moment. She does not create. She revises endlessly. And while she tries to polish every detail, life moves on without asking for permission. It's like sculpting a statue and never allowing it to be seen. Every line becomes a pretext to stop, every imperfection an excuse to procrastinate. But life does not reward what remains hidden. It rewards what is offered to the world, even if it's imperfect. The hard truth is that you were born with a gift, a talent, a light. Perhaps it isn't valued by the world around you, but that doesn't make it any less real. The greatest mistake is to hide it in the name of perfection, waiting for an ideal moment that never comes. Perfection is not a virtue. It is a mask. As Carl Jung taught, the relentless pursuit of perfection is often a flight from becoming whole. We hide from our shadow, our flaws, our mistakes, our humanity. And paradoxically, as Marianne Williamson wrote, we also hide from our light. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? This is the real dilemma. It is not the mistake that paralyzes you. It is the courage to shine that terrifies you. When you shrink yourself to fit into a mold, you are not being humble. You are simply denying the world what only you can offer. Seneca warned us, while we are postponing, life speeds by. How many books were never written? How many businesses were never launched? How many words of love were never spoken because someone was waiting for the perfect moment? All in the name of an ideal that exists only in the imagination. Do you want to become imperturbable? Replace perfection with progress. Replace demands with courage. Replace fear with movement. Because in the end, it is not perfection that transforms your life. It is the discipline of moving forward despite your imperfections. Living in wholeness, the daily practice of the wise woman. We have reached the pinnacle of our journey where theory transforms into life. Having an inner fortress, breaking free from chains, and tending the garden of the soul are the pillars. Now, we will learn to live upon them. Lasting calm does not come from a miraculous insight, but from conscious daily practice. It is about how you breathe, how you love, how you live your truth, and how you face the impermanent nature of everything. This is the art of living each day as a stoic woman in action, turning every moment into an opportunity to practice wisdom and strength. 9. The beauty of impermanence. Life is a loan, not a possession. We cling. We cling to our health, our possessions, our youth, and especially to the people we love. And in this clinging lies the seed of our greatest suffering. The Stoic philosophy offers a liberating perspective. You possess nothing permanently. Everything is a loan from life, granted for a limited time. And the sooner you understand this, the lighter you become. Marcus Aurelius repeated to himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Not as an invitation to pessimism, but as an urgent reminder that nothing is guaranteed. Tomorrow is not a promise. The present moment is your only true possession. Think of how many times you have despaired over losing something, an object, a job, a relationship. The pain felt unbearable because you believed it was yours. But deep down it was never a possession, only a passage. The more you cling, the heavier the burden becomes. The more you accept the temporary nature of life, the more you learn to live with gratitude. And here lies the great shift. Gratitude is born precisely from the awareness that everything is transient. If life never promised permanence, then every moment you are given is a bonus, a gift. The hug that lasts a few seconds, the smile that brightens a morning. even your own breath in this very instant. None of it is guaranteed, and that is precisely why it is infinitely valuable. When you see the world this way, every loss ceases to be only pain and becomes the memory of something that was. You stop lamenting the time you will no longer have and start being thankful for the time you had. Gratitude does not erase absence, but it transforms memory into strength instead of weakness. This is not coldness, it is awareness. When you know that everything is on loan, you begin to value what you have now. You listen more closely, you hug more tightly, you give thanks more often. The imperturbable woman is not the one who closes herself off to avoid feeling, but the one who feels deeply, without shackling herself to the fear of loss. Nothing is a possession, everything is a gift. Live in such a way that if it were taken tomorrow, you would be left not with regret, but with immense gratitude for the time you had. 10. Your truth is your compass. Live it, even if no one else believes it. One of the greatest sources of anguish is trying to convince others of what only you can feel. You know what you carry inside, your dreams, your values, your intuition, but you waste immense energy trying to prove, explain, and justify it, as if your truth needs a witness to exist. But the reality is simple. No one sees the world through your eyes. Everyone has their own filters, their own wounds, their own limits. To expect them to fully understand you is like expecting them to perfectly translate a language they have never learned. To live your truth is the ultimate goal of what the psychologist Carl Jung called individuation, the journey of becoming an undivided, whole individual, true to your innermost self. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Notice, it does not depend on the recognition of others, nor the approval of the crowd. Your truth only needs to be clear to you. This struggle appears in the details of daily life. You share a dream with your family and receive silence or criticism. You present an idea at work and meet resistance. You open your heart to friends and are misunderstood. Each time this happens, you are tempted to retreat, to fall silent, to believe your truth only has value if it's validated by someone else. But that is the greatest trap. Think of the women who walked a different path. The artist who was called mad before she was called a genius. The entrepreneur who was ridiculed before she was celebrated. The thinker who was ignored in her lifetime but who transformed generations after her death. Their mistake would have been to give up because they were not understood. Their triumph was remaining faithful to what they believed, even when they stood alone. Your truth is like a lighthouse. It doesn't wait for the applause of the ships to shine. It simply fulfills its function, to illuminate. Some may ignore it, others may even criticize it, but those who need the light will know its value. It is the same with you. Your function is not to convince, but to shine. You do not need to explain your worldview to those who are not ready to see it. You do not need to prove your essence to those who can only judge the surface. Your peace begins when you stop trading your truth for acceptance. Know your truth and live by it, even if no one else recognizes it, because the value of who you are is not measured by the amount of applause you receive, but by the integrity of continuing to be yourself when no one is watching. 11. Philosophy in action. Live each day as the wise woman you are. All the wisdom you have heard up to this point is worthless if it remains merely a beautiful idea in your mind. What transforms your life is not what you know, but what you practice. The great philosophers were never just library thinkers. They were people of action, rulers, soldiers, and everyday citizens. They understood that real life is the only possible stage for philosophy, and that every day is the laboratory of the soul. It is not about grand rituals, but about minute choices. The way you breathe before you answer a stressful email, the way you react to an unfair criticism, the decision to feel gratitude even when you want to complain. All of this is the practice. It doesn't matter if the world recognizes it. What matters is that each action strengthens you in silence. And the most beautiful part is that you never know which small act of training will save you in the decisive test. Perhaps the patience you cultivated in traffic today will be the strength that prevents a rash decision tomorrow. Perhaps the habit of giving thanks in the darkness will be the flame that keeps your soul lit when life turns out all the other lights. Do you want to become imperturbable, Do not turn this journey into a theory. Turn it into your real life. Live in such a way that every day, no matter how mundane, proves one thing. The one who governs your mind, the one who rules your inner kingdom, is you, not the chaos. Thank you for being here until the end. If this content has helped you see life from a new perspective, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Here we do not walk alone. We seek clarity, we cultivate wisdom, and we train the mind until we become the calmest, strongest, and most imperturbable version of ourselves. The journey has already begun, and you are part of it.